Hey guys, Luna here, and welcome back to our life. It's been a little time since I recorded an episode for this, since I've been having some issues recording the planning memory, but hopefully there's not going to be any issues while recording this. You cozily lay across your bed, lightly dozing in the morning sun. You heard the birds singing outside your window and the occasional rush of wind, but you were really listening for my words. But what you were really listening for was your phone, any minute now. It was a little later when a vibration cut through the silent bubble of your daydreams. You eagerly sat up and plucked the phone off the blanket by your side. Wait. A forced, deep voice on the other end answered you with an almost threatening edge to their tone.
Hey!
Luna, do you know who this is? I'm on my way to your house. You better be prepared. This situation normally would have been worrying if you hadn't been expecting to hear from your goofiest friend Terry, or if the caller ID hadn't been invented yet. The two of you had an important matter to discuss, and that's why she was coming over today. You played along with her covert scheme. I do, and I am ready for your arrival. Good, very good. Now, this is a crucial matter of security. Is there anyone else in the room right now who might overhear this conversation? We are too close to the finish line to get our cover blown now. Which, honestly, is very fitting. Glancing side to side, you observe your surroundings and cupped a hand close to the side of your mouth for added security. No, I'm alone. My mission is still intact. I knew I could count on my trusty cohort. I'm equipped with the fortitude to guard any classified information. You can trust me completely. Terry momentarily lost her serious tone and laughed. You could hear the smile in her voice. That I can. Just to be certain, you went toward your bedroom door and poked your head out. You couldn't hear a peep from anyone, so you plopped back onto your bed. Yep, I can verify that we're all clear. Anyone that was trying to learn our secrets has failed in their mission.
Very nifty.
Excellent. All according to plan. It wasn't hard to understand why Cherry was so invested. Tomorrow was Miranda's 19th birthday, and the entire occasion needed to be perfect. Usually Derek hosted a party for the kids, but this year was different. Miranda had no clue that you, Terry, and Cove were putting the whole shebang together. The pressure was getting intense. There was less than 24 hours before showtime. Miranda's friends and family were counting on the three of you. I don't know why it's just the three of us, but well, I do, but in the moment I don't know. Terry dropped her game completely and got to the point. Since you can't drive and I don't have my own ride, do you think your moms would let me borrow their car? My dad can't take us around all day. I don't know.
Oh.
That's not good. The strain in Terry's voice wiped your smile away. That wasn't originally a problem. Cove was supposed to be the driver, but his request for a time off work only allowed tomorrow for the actual birthday. So you could rely on him to help decorate, but you and Terry were on your own today. We gotta figure out how to get to an actual party supply store. Yeah. It seems we've reached our first crisis point. That was fast. We really shouldn't have put this off until last minute. We had no choice. This is the easiest way to make sure Randy never caught on. She can't discover we're orchestrating if there's nothing for her to find at all. I stand by that. And besides, I'm thinking way bigger than a bag of streamers we can easily stuff away in a closet. I want to find something new, something fresh and cool. But what? Terry, I'm not sure what you're even envisioning. What's fresh and cool? I know. Her party should have a theme. We can make all the food and decorations match. Look nice. What kind of theme? I'm still working that detail out. That's fine. We still have a little work room left on the clock.
Yeah!
Exactly. Now that we have a direction, we'll put our noggins together and figure out the perfect theme. And then we'll need to get all the stuff for it and put it together in the party room. Your mouth pressed into a hard line. Having a theme wasn't exactly progress. It was just another thing you need to get done on top of everything else. You kept that train of thought to yourself and chuckled. This event was going to be a Herculean feat, but you had faith in your friends, and together you would find a way to make it work somehow.
So?
Oh, and don't forget that there's a small problem of how we're even getting to the store. That's non-negotiable. We have to go today. This needs to be huge. Miranda's parties used to be big. She always had the best birthday, at least before. Yeah. There's no way you could forget Miranda's birthday bashes throughout the years. They were a highlight of your summers. Though you had no idea that Terry had been attending them for just as long. You never knew who she was until high school, and it was strange to think that you were so close to meeting so much earlier, and now that you are all buddies. Unfortunately, the past couple of years, things have been too difficult for an event of that scale. Everyone was older and 10 times busier during the summer. Terry groaned, understandably getting worked up over that struggle. Miranda doesn't even want any presents. All she asked for was for friends and family to get together. We already had the perfect party booked. That was supposed to be the hardest part. Which, honestly, not that surprising to think that was the hardest part. Everyone from Miranda's parents to you and your friends pooled your money together to rent out an actual event space instead of having it at a house or a public park. Which, public park's always very fun and very nice. For a while now, Miranda had been insisting that she didn't need anything, but none of you could pass up the opportunity to show how much you all appreciated her. I'm glad. It isn't even because she used to have big parties, you know. Even if that never happened before, has to be as good as it can be. Terry's mumbling grew increasingly more upset. She didn't hide an ounce of your worry. What if this is the last time we're all able to celebrate together? It was true. People are going to be leaving soon. That included you. You knew Terry wasn't going to try to be mean or point any fingers, but you still felt like that weighed pointedly. Who knew what any of your lives would look like a year from now? That is very true. Terry sniffed, voice cracking with emotions. You couldn't do anything other than helplessly wait at the other end of the call. Yeah. We need this to be our final big hurrah in case it is. Everything would be fine. The future may seem scary and uncertain, but it could get better rather than worse. Well, Terry sniffled and quickly regained her usual file.
I'm on it.
Yeah, I'm hoping everything works out for this party because, let's be honest, it's going to be very interesting. My dad's about to drive me over, so I have a whole car ride to think about our dilemma. You put your brain to work too. We have to have this and we'll have this solved. No sweat. Baxter. Huh? Did you spot him outside or something? No, listen. You rented a car for this summer. I've been in it.
Woo!
You're a genius, Luna. Thank you very much. But do you think you would actually give us a lift? Yeah, he'll be thrilled. Even though you couldn't see Terry, you could have easily imagined that she was nodding over this idea already.
See you later.
This is the way. Alright, I gotta go. See you soon. The fate of Randy's birthday is up to you, me, and now our remaining hope, the Bee-Man. Bye. You hung up the phone and left it face down on the blanket. Flopped across your bed and your thoughts wandered. Kicked her feet, eager with growing excitement. Miranda was going to have a birthday and that she was never going to forget in a million years. While you waited, you opened a half a dozen tabs online on your phone, scrolled through various images of party decorations, and you kept perusing until a text notification popped up. I'm here. The doorbell rang as your feet hit the floor. You hurried downstairs and opened the front door.
Hi.
Hey buddy, the party committee's meeting is officially in session. Hooray! Parties. That's always exciting. So, hopefully, it's going to be just as good. Since sighing inside, you gestured for Terry to come on in. She showed inside and went toward the living room. Then Terry pivoted on her heels and folded her arms. All business. So I haven't messaged Baxter about all this. We should ask him in person instead of all of text. It'd be super rude to hit someone up we barely know to do a big favor, you know? It's gotta be face to face, that big before he can beg to help. Fingers crossed he's home. We owe it to ourselves and Randy's birthday party to try. Yeah, and if he's not there, we can try something else. This is a start.
Okay.
There's no time like the present. Let's go. And Terry just nodded as she came through the both of you. Terry nodded toward the door she just came through, and both of you promptly left the house. Together, you made a beeline for Baxter's condos and rang the doorbell. Terry gave the front door a knock for good measure. She wasn't taking a single risk that you might miss him by accident. As she declared, Terry crossed her fingers on both of her hands. That's definitely one way to go about it. The door opened a crack. Baxter curiously peeked down and swung it open the rest of the way. He smirked. Well, isn't this a familiar sight? That is very true. Last time the pair of you came, it was for my number. I wonder what today's mission will be. Oh, I hope you're looking forward to it, because it's going to be very, very exciting.
Yeah!
You're here! Hooray! Yes. Terry's loosened her bent fingers and threw back her hands victoriously into the air. Amused, Baxter rubbed his back of his neck. I didn't realize I was missing, but yes, I'm here. I was simply getting ready to go out for the day. You turned your head away and tried to hide your smile. Of course, it was only now he was making a move to go anywhere. It had to be at least noon before you do anything out of the house, which, honestly, totally understandable. You turned your head away and tried to hide your smile. Of course, only... Oh, wait, I already read it. Forgot I didn't press the thing. Though, even if it wasn't home, you're welcome to call me. It's not my intent to be difficult to reach. Thanks, but we wouldn't want to interrupt you if you were busy. Perish the thoughts. It wouldn't be an interruption, it'll be an improvement. I'm glad you think so. You know, I'll be thrilled to see you anytime. Baxter's words were meant for Terry too, but his gaze was only sent on you. Terry's grin widened as her eyes crinkled. You knew her well enough to tell that she was psyching herself up. Her hands were settled on her hip while she was doing so. Can you give us a ride someplace?
It's doable.
Yes, easily. Is it really easily, though? He answered without missing a beat. Terry whooped in Baxter's brains, pleased by her enthusiasm. This is certainly something else. He seems too eager. May I ask where we're going? Baxter, my good friend, you're going to the craft and party supply store. A party store? What's the occasion? The way he perked up and with genuine wonder, you could have sworn that his dark eyes were sparkling. And Terry pressed a finger to her lips and winked. Shh, I can't tell anyone, but you're gonna give Miranda the best birthday party. Best birthday of her young life. Miranda. That name does sound vaguely familiar. Ah, yes, that's a friend I've yet to meet, correct? You mentioned her the first day I arrived, I believe. Bullseye. Well, congratulations on her birthday and for having such doting
Yeah.
friends. Yes, on behalf of Randy, I thank you. And on behalf of me, I thank you again for providing the transportation. We would have been stranded without you. Baxter graciously bowed his head. He picked up the urgency and importance of what your team was asking. Now that I know what it's for, there's no way I could ever refuse. I'm honored to help.
So?
How are the preparations going? A tiny nervous laughter bubbled up in Terry's throat. She glanced at you, scratching the side of her cheek. Well, we got the room booked at the place big enough to hold the party. It's a grand private event like she's never had before.
Glad to hear it.
That's great to hear. Yeah, we just need all the food and party stuff to go in it. I take it you don't have caterers or decorers arranged then? We are the caterers and decorers. Me and Luna mostly, since Cove couldn't come along today. Ah, I see. Baxter idly tapped his fingers against his chin, his brow pinched pensively.
Certainly.
Certainly this can be done, so there's no reason to worry. But when is the event?
Uh-huh.
Tomorrow. Terry's simple, upbeat answer tore a gasp for Baxter. Bewildered, he slid a step backward and gasped at the fabric across his chest. This was easily the most dramatic reaction he ever witnessed from him. There was nothing you could do to stop the snort and laughter that followed. Covering his mouth, you tried twisting away from your friends, but even the battle was lost. His reaction was too funny, he was too aghast to even notice. Tomorrow. It's tomorrow, and you only have a venue and 2 people? Nothing else? It's going to be a grand affair? Baxter's mouth snapped shut following that outburst. Neither you nor Terry uttered a single word in response. The 2 of you shared a quick glance. Baxter took a deep, steadying breath through his nose. He slowly smoothed out the wrinkles in his shirt and exhaled. Once he was better composed, Baxter regained his usual confidence air. He attempted to lightly chuckle, but you still caught the strain in his tone. He may have more problems than the lack of vehicle, I'm afraid. Terry fidgeted her fingers out of embarrassment, but she stood strong and explained the situation to Baxter. She repeated the thought process she walked you through before. I couldn't get the goods earlier, or Randy would have figured out what I was doing instantly. I couldn't risk it.
Sorry.
And even if I managed the impossible, she's always at my house. Not having anything to sniff out was the best possible way to keep everything a secret. We could have had the decorations at my house, you know. Yeah, maybe, but it's too late for what ifs now. As long as we can stay focused, it can't happen. We just gotta buy the decorations today and make the snacks, and then the desserts. They'll be set up by tomorrow before things kick off at noon. No problem. I'm not sure how we're gonna do it all. You rubbed both of your eyes and felt your stress levels rise. Baxter sighed sympathetically. I understand you're facing a difficult situation, but keep your chin up. Things aren't as cataclysmic yet.
In that case...
Well, since I have attended a number of functions, I'll be delighted to offer advice and assistance today and tomorrow. I can definitely do more than simply carting you to the store. No way, you're hired. Terry cheered this upswing of good luck. Baxter's eyebrows arching quizzically, and then you could see the growing amusement stirring. Hiring? Are you offering to pay me?
Nah.
Nah, but you can join our secret party planning team. That's priceless.
Very well.
I'll take it. His tone sounded even happier than his teasing ploy for money. There was really no payment that would have made this more worth the while. Baxter laughed and gestured toward the street. Let's discuss the details on the way. I imagine the store you have in mind is in the town. Terry hopped toward the street and partially twisted her heel. She tilted her head and smirked. Nothing's in this little beach town. With his hands in his pockets, Baxter stepped ahead, passing you to join Terry on the road. He had a few words as he crossed your path. Oh, I would have to disagree with that. Your skin grew warmer, and just like that slight brush with Baxter. My car is parked a short walk that way.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, team, here we go. I think it's over this way to the left. Down the street. Baxter slipped inside the condo to grab his keys, and you and Terry loitered in the empty street while you waited. We totally hit the jackpot. Did you see his face when he realized this was about a party? He probably has loads of ideas. I know, He was on board the second he heard what we were doing. Things are looking up. Baxter didn't take long in order to lock up. You followed him to his car with a pep in your step, and Terry slammed her palm on the front passenger side door. Zips on shotgun. You're happy to chill in the back seats. More leg room for me. Terry laughed and swung the door open. Baxter pulled his elbow on the roof of the car and leaned his cheek against the palm of his hand, shaking his head. Shaking your head, you got into the car. Terry glanced at Baxter across the small space between them and winked.
Uh-huh.
It'll be like you're chauffeuring Luna because they're a VIP.
Yes.
Yes, and where can we drive you today, Mixed Mare? Baxter buckled his seatbelt and immediately began searching for nearby craft and party suppliers via GPS. Do you have a particular store in mind? Ooh, that one, right there. She pointed at the lower half of the screen, and Baxter wordlessly set her pick as the destination. With that settled, the rest of you got comfortable and buckled in for the ride. Despite being the new guy in the area, Baxter confidently drove as if he's been traveling these roads his whole life. He followed the directions laid out for him, but he also kept a part of himself focused on the task at hand. Baxter kept the conversation focused on how he could better help you, Terry, with the party. He didn't hesitate to be a key member of this operation. Let's see. Consider you working pro bono. I appreciate that you're taking party planning seriously. Baxter laughed deeply, his grin tied down the steering wheel. Is it a crime to take pride in my ability?
No way.
Absolutely not. Keep it up. So, do you have any idea of what we're looking for? It's gonna have a theme. The party just can't be a generic birthday bash. We're going for something.
Excellent.
Excellent. Having a specific design core makes it all easier. Baxter answered with a pleased tone and peeked at the GPS. He turned the car at an intersection. And the theme is...
Nah.
We don't know. Nah. Somehow his smile remained perfectly in place. He imagined that he was fully expecting the lack of preparation at this point.
Well,
there are many concepts you can go with. For example, summertime in the classic style would be nautical, or perhaps a desert chic for California if we wanted to take our location into account. Or what about this? Well, summer's scorching on outside. The guests are treated to a winter wonderland inside. That is kind of unexpected, unintentionally out of season aesthetic can be quite fun. Exhaling deeply, Terry leaned on the side of her head against the glass and stared out the window, mulling over Baxter's suggestions. She sank her front teeth into her bottom lip. None of those suffice. We can continue brainstorming. I don't know if any of those are right for Miranda. She doesn't care about what's trendy or seasonal or what might impress her guests.
understandable.
That's a good point. This isn't some party, it's Miranda's party. Unfortunately, I haven't met the woman this whole affair is for, so there isn't much I can suggest with her tastes and interests factored in. I apologize. That put him at quite disadvantage, despite his sincere intent to help. Frowning, you felt somewhat similar. Nobody knew Miranda better than Terry, and that meant she should have the final say on these big decisions. Would you rather I stop proposing ideas? I'm sure whatever you think she'll enjoy most will be wonderful. No, I need so much help. I don't even know what party themes are. How am I gonna pick one? Okay, then should I keep throwing ideas out until something sounds good to your ears?
Yeah!
Yes, please. There's gotta be a theme that's perfect for her. I'll know it when I hear it. Very well. You could practically hear the gears moving in Baxter's brains. His expression scrunched up, and it was clear that he was silently compiling a list. Oh wait, can you tell me about the venue? The colors, the size, the style? We can use that as a base to work off of. It would be pointless to fall in love with a concept and realize it would clash with the room.
Sure!
Smart. I found the perfect place. It's pretty big. Imagine a space that's larger than the average living room. It's like 3 living rooms. She's got lots of family and plenty of friends coming, so you need it. There's also a lit-up dance floor in the center, too.
Oh?
A dance floor. His eyes sparkled with excitement. He imagined the dance floor would be just as bright tomorrow. Will the event have any slow dancing? Who slow dances at a birthday party? It's not prom. Baxter's shoulders slump in response while Terry's surprised laugh morphed into a small coughing fit. He sighed deeply. That's true. If only someone was getting married instead. There's always form of dancing at weddings. It's a shame that as an adult, the only appropriate occasion to dance with a partner, besides at a practice and competitions, it's such an uncommon event. But of course, this is outside of having your own action partner who you can go dancing with whenever you like. You tilted your head. Your head tilted. Was that a hint? The two of you are dating. Did he want to go dancing with you? Or maybe there wasn't any intent behind the general statements. I promise to dance with you somehow. You held your eyes in the mirror for another
Exciting.
I'd enjoy that immensely. It was the least you could do for him after he was willingly signed up to help you out. Never mind share a dance with Baxter. He was going to be a special treat. You really had zero intent to miss that. But Baxter shook his head, righting himself of his indulgent thoughts. His attention flickered to the map. Regardless, it wouldn't matter either way in this case. I apologize for getting us off track. How else would you describe the venue?
Very nifty.
It's shiny and pretty and pink. That does give a strong picture of what the presentation could be. It's limiting, but in a helpful way. Also,
I see.
the most obvious direction would be to make the entire theme simply pink. Terry snorted and tried to suppress her giggles, but she was instantly unsuccessful. Randy does like that color, but she doesn't feel the same way about it as you do with black and white. Now it's Baxter's turn to chuckle. That's fair. So moving on, we have pretty and sparkly. What else? Is Miranda a fan of glitz and glamour?
Nope.
Well, basically no. Terry's brows furrowed and she slowly deflated in her seats. Randy wouldn't like to try and be glamorous. That's not how she is, and she wouldn't know how to act if that's what the theme was. If that's so, then what about a Fox High Life theme? And what would that be? He sat forward, wondering what either of those two words were supposed to mean in terms of decorating a party. Let me think of the best way to articulate the premise. Imagine plastic champagne glasses filled with sparkling cider and dainty desserts coated in shimmering dust so they shine. A chocolate fountain with fresh strawberries to dip and colored lights, perhaps even feather boas for the guests to wear. The idea is nothing is truly extravagant. It's tongue-in-cheek, but with all the celebratory fun of acting like a star on your special day. Not being that kind of person would be part of the point. Cute and silly, basically. Terry sprung up in her seat, vibrating with excitement. She turned to you, but she was still rendered speechless for Baxter's proposition.
What do you think?
Did I strike a chord? That'd be so fun. Randy loves to let loose and not be so serious, but she's definitely a star. It sounds as though we have our theme now.
Finally!
Yeah, it's all gonna come together now.
That's wonderful.
We accomplished it without having to leave the car. Wow, Baxter, you really know your stuff. Seriously, you're awesome. It's honestly nothing special. I'm simply sharing some thoughts based on my experiences. That's nothing to you, but it is to us. The rest of the drive kept the secret party plan and ball rolling, and the three of you took turns proposing suggestions for what you needed to track down at the store. When you arrived, the three of you entered the store, fully focused on the mission, though you felt underprepared standing at the entrance and scanning the cluttered store in front of you. Honestly, this looks like a store that I've been to in my area. When you arrived, the three of you shelves were piled with miscellaneous goods, and there was a strong smell of fitting in the air. It was like a mix of paint and scented something. Maybe a pine cone? Curling your fingers into a fist, you steeled yourself for a task. It was going to be way too easy to get lost with an endless sea of bits and bobs calling out to you. The secret party planning team couldn't fail now.
Woo!
Come on, there's no time to waste. Terry took the lead, claiming a shopping cart and picking a direction. She pushed ahead while you and Baxter followed back, while you followed at Baxter's pace. It wasn't long before Terry was combing through the piles of knickknacks. Her fiery determination to make this birthday the best it could be was admirable. You were proud to be part of her grand plan. Your group traveled down several aisles, picking up a variety of supplies that had been decided on during the drive. The right shaped cups, plastic forks, spoons, every sort of proper silverware, and the rest of the basics. You picked out some shiny tablecloths to replace the old checkered ones, and Terry found a few platters to serve the desserts on. Now, on the agenda was to locate what you need to prepare the desserts. Before any of you could do that, Terry stopped at her tracks and pointed. "Oh, look!" Craning your head, you scanned the area until you landed on what she was seeing. There in the distance were dozens of feathered boas hanging over rows of long hooks. They were fluffy and came in several bright saturated colors. Grinning wide, Terry raced over to the display and flung a ton of them into the carts. It was anyone's guess how many would be needed for tomorrow, and since there was only a couple dollars each, Terry was sticking with the old tried and true method with better safe than sorry. Eventually, her looting uncovered a singular pure white boa. You knew instantly that you needed that boa. It was perfect for Baxter. You grabbed it, mindful not to crush the delicate feathers. They were soft against your skin while you examined them for any hidden splotches of color. Luckily, the feathers were immaculate, so you added the boa to the growing pile in the cart. It soon became lost in the sea of rainbows. Once Terry was satisfied, she stared at the cart. Everything that you selected before was buried under the pile of boas, and there was even more shopping to do. Maybe we should get a second cart.
I can do that.
I couldn't agree more. You two can go to the cake decoration aisle, and I'll meet you there.
Thanks.
Thanks, B-Man. Baxter hurried to the end of the aisle and paused there. Glancing back, Terry sent him with a playful salute, and then he answered with a wave. "Don't get lost, I'll miss you." "I'll try my best." After that, you and Terry ended up getting a bit turned around, but at long last you found the aisle with the cake decoration supply. Terry drove the cart back and forth, anxiously scanning the selection.
So,
What desserts are we gonna have? There should be a cake, but that can't be all, right? What about cupcakes? Randy loves cupcakes. She does. We gotta make a whole bunch now. Yeah. Terry mumbled contemplatively to herself, leaning against the carriage. She nodded once. I'll try it. No, I must do it. Hold on. When are you gonna have time to make 2 desserts? Tonight after all the shopping, or tomorrow when the entire room needs to be decorated? I can squeeze it in somewhere. I don't think so. They'll never get done. You make the cake, I'll take care of the cupcakes.
really?
Thanks, buddy. Terry dabbed an invisible tear from her eye and then placed her hand across her eyes. Oh, what am I going to do? No one could ask for such a more loyal cohorts. I can't let you take all the glory. Terry crossed her arms and pretended to be annoyed. He gazed near and suspiciously.
Ooh.
Oh, so that's it. You're trying to see my crown as #1 Miranda enthusiast. Maybe. Alright, so I've been thinking about making a confetti cake with vanilla frosting. Could you make chocolate cupcakes with cheesecake frosting? And make them all look all pretty too? Got it. I got it. Totally can do it. You got a thumbs up and Terry excitedly pumped her face.
Hell yeah.
This is gonna be a great party. With renewed enthusiasm, Terry picked up a couple containers of golden shimmer dust for the trees, and a pack of edible jewels and decorative stars. Terry reached up and sagged a big 19-shaped candle to go on top of the cake. Her arms were rapidly getting full, and just in time.
Hello.
There you are. I've been searching for you two. We had the new cart over, but it wasn't empty. Sitting comfortably inside was a boxed chocolate fountain, a pack of wooden skewers, and a big bag of melting chocolate wafers to be used with this. Ooh. Terry leaned into the cart and examined the advertised features printed on the box. Some of the package she was holding onto fell into from her grasp and tumbled in with the plane. This is a good brand. It's not too loud. The music should cover up the noise it does make, though.
Sure.
Works for me. Terry released the remaining things she was carrying into the carriage. They rained into the unsuspecting fountain. You placed what you had inside next. Baxter studied everything you picked while he was going.
You're good.
You have excellent taste. Those decorations are fantastic. Thanks. The cupcakes are going to be almost too nice to eat. A feast for the eyes. Yeah, we got this in the bag. As you pass through more parts of the store, the three of you grabbed a few last-minute odds and ends. Somewhere along the way, Terry found a sash and said birthday girl. She eagerly snatched it up and threw it across the pile of feather boas. You pointed out some oversized sunglasses next. Ooh, good catch.
Very nifty.
Those totally fit the vibe. Nodding, you tend a handful in the cart. From there, your team circled the premise for a little while before deciding to check out and get your haul home. The register area you discovered wasn't built in anything like the supermarket. There wasn't a long conveyor belt to put stuff on, only a short counter.
I apologize.
Sorry, this will be one moment. You flashed a cashier an apologetic smile, and you got to work piling up the dozens of party supplies from 2 full carts. Not one piece of was particularly pricey, but the amount of stuff you gathered was totally skyrocketing. Even with the contributions from your friends and family as combination gift, it was going to be a close call. Terry's lip twitched as she tried not to frown. The display price grew higher, and there were still a mountain of things on the counter. Baxter stared at Terry, and his brow furrowed. He then reached over and plucked away the chocolate fountain and the skewers and the packet of chocolate.
No.
Oh, I want that. Oh, please, don't take it away. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna buy this part myself. But it's not a necessary supply that you're anticipating you'd buy. It was my bright idea on top of everything. I'll cover it. My treat, or rather my gift for Ren's birthday. I can't say no to that. Thank you so much. He gave her a pleasant nod and then went to the end of the line, carrying the box under his arm. Baxter managed to get through the line, stop at a different register, and then complete his purchase well before you and Terry were through. He waited awkwardly at the side of the checkout area with his bag. After the poor cashier dug themselves out of the pile of sparkling feathered goods, he caught up to him with the 2 carts neatly packed with bags. And as you were only leaving, a voice over the announcements that the store would be open for only another 30 minutes. Terry glanced at the overhead speaker in shock.
Oh.
Whoa, I knew you were here for a while, but not that long.
It's settled.
I'd say this was a successful trip. This was a massive success. Yeah, it was worth it. Your party planning committee exited the store, and you made your way through the parking lots. Together, you had to fill the truck and part of the back seats. We'll take the carts back. Yeah, we got it. I'll stay put here then. Excuse me. Baxter leaned against the car door as he rolled away. The sky was dark and the night air felt invigorating after being in the stuffy, overly scented store. There was an added pep in your step now that you weren't weighed down by party supplies. Terry shot you a mischievous grin and then raced back across the pavements. You pushed the cart faster before jumping on the back and riding it. Leaning forward, you made sure to keep yourself in balance on the empty cart. Your smile grew, feeling a cool breeze against your skin. Then returned to the car together. Baxter stood up and smoothed his shirt before opening the door. Welcome back. After you squeezed into the car and let your eyes feast on the food of your afternoon neighbors, Terry hopped into the front again. Terry fished her phone out and messaged her parents that she was ready for them to pick her up. She explained that if they left now, then her mom and dad would be at your house by the time you left their jobs. After that, you simply needed to enjoy a comfortably quiet ride to the neighborhood. All that shopping ended up being more exhausting than any of you anticipated. After a brief and uneventful drive through the sleepy streets, you arrived home to find a van parked outside. As you approached, you recognized it as a shade of green paint and that characteristic dent in the rear fender. Terry leaned out the window and held you. Oh, hey, you made it! Away from the driver's side window was Terry's parents, come to pick her up as planned. This is great, we can take most of the stuff home in the van. Terry jerked a thumb toward the pile of party paraphernalia, I think that's how you pronounce this, perched precariously in the back of the car. Try and say that sometimes fast. I definitely can't.
Woo!
I figured it can stay there until tomorrow. My folks said we could borrow the van to take everything for party venue anyways. It's like we planned it or something. Baxter silently nodded, pulling alongside Terry's parents.
Is that fine?
Well, since we're transferring supplies from one vehicle to another, might as well minimize the distance. Terry, would you please? He gestured toward the rear of the van. Terry nodded and hopped out to let her mom know it was safe to pop the trunk. While you had left your back seat, Baxter opened up his own car, then gave Terry's mom and dad a friendly wave. Thus began the daunting task of unloading. Terry's parents noticed how much stuff you ended up bringing back, and soon they were also lending you a hand. With all 5 of you, the seemingly endless stack of party goods was defeated in a few short minutes.
Huh.
I think that's the last of it. Many hands truly do make light work. You let out a sigh of relief, stretching your arms. They got sore from all the heavy lifting and spread to the hope. Bow down before the awesome and terrible power of teamwork. Terry wasn't even remotely out of breath. She could do the whole thing over again without breaking her sweat. You counted yourself lucky she didn't threaten to do that. Why am I not surprised? Her sense of humor could be wild sometimes. Baxter leaned against the closed rear door of the van, casually addressing Terry and her parents. Are you fine people headed home now? It's getting late. A trio of ascension noise follows.
Yeah!
Yeah, we got everything ready for tomorrow. Hold on a second. She marched over to where you stood and planted her feet on the sidewalk with intent. She stood to attention as though suddenly in the middle of a military parade. You could see she had an object clutched in her right hand. Though it was difficult to make out in the dusk, she must have taken it out from one of the shopping bags from earlier. As soon as I get home, the next stage of our mission commences. Don't worry about me, though. I'll be... Here comes a piece of cake. She lifted one of your hands and dropped the held item onto it. 3 shimmering cylinders of Confederate glitter. Of course, there's still work to be done tonight. Baking. You're ready to go. You clutched the little plastic tubes of glittering tightly, giving Terry an enthusiastic mock salute. Aye aye, Captain. Are you ready, kids? Good luck and see you tomorrow.
See you later.
I'll swing by to pick you guys up at 7 tomorrow morning, okay? Party starts at noon and we're going to need all the time we can get. With a skip and a jump, Terry is already clambering into her parents' van. She waved enthusiastically as the sliding door closed. After retreating to a safe distance, you and Baxter watched the van pull out and head off up the street. It was surprising it could move anymore without extra weight. The glow of the headlights grew distant and faded into the night like lights in a dream. All was quiet for a pause, then Baxter spoke. I understand that there's one more job left to take care of then. He nodded down at the clear containers you were so clutching in your hands. Yep, still gotta take care of some stuff. I'll get some sleep. Eventually.
To be honest,
Well, I cannot say I'm surprised you aren't finished. It's a tall order arranging an event at short notice. Not that I'm criticizing your attempt in the slightest. It's honestly admirable to see the commitments. But I'm getting off topic. What's next on the agenda? You explained to Baxter the situation with the party food. You volunteered to make chocolate cupcakes with cream cheese frosting, while Terry would do the real birthday cake. It was a relatively simple order, at least. No last-minute rounderings from her to just survive the disappointments. The edible fox metallic glitter Terry handed you would be the final layer of decoration, a touch of pizzazz that would transform the basic cupcakes into something more to a theme. Tex had touched a hand to his mouth and nodded in agreement as you explained. Of course, a pleasing appearance is hardly the most critical factor. A poorly baked dessert would still taste bad no matter how it looks, but a flower can help elevate a thing beyond itself. I suppose you could say it's the icing on the cake. Baxter coughed quietly into his fist as though you muffled a laugh. Terry had been rubbing off on him clearly. Regardless, that sounds to be a marvelous idea, though slightly less marvelous given how tight the schedule is. It's getting late. There's no denying his thoughtful expressions was obscured by the darkness around both of you. Here's what I suggest. Why don't you come over to my house if you would? I can give you a hand with the preparation, if you think it would be any use. For how often and how readily Baxter offered his services, you shouldn't have been taken aback by this latest gesture. Yet you still found yourself wondering why. Baxter clearly anticipated your reaction, cutting off the question before you could ask it. He made a gesture as if he was looking at his wristwatch, though of course he didn't wear one. It's nearly 10 p.m. Your family won't exactly thank you for baking this late at night. The noise is one thing, the smell will be another matter. And besides, your fridge might not have enough space. Leaving the cakes all night might spoil them. The fridge in my condo well, there's plenty of room. Baxter's dictation had gained a faint quivering edge, like he was skirting around a nervous giggle. It's empty, in fact. I've a completely empty fridge and a completely empty house.
Perfect.
Perfect, wouldn't you say? When he put in those terms, it made total sense. Baxter sure did have a lot of foresight when it came to these things. It was impressive he always thought that far ahead. He agreed that the opportunity it was an opportune set of circumstances. But as he talked about how empty his temporary home was, it struck you that Baxter sounded a little sad? It must have been quiet all alone in that house. Maybe that's why he was always so willing to come spend time with you or the other people he knew around here. Alright, so long as you promise not to seek any bite of the cupcakes before tomorrow. I wouldn't dream of it as a scout's honor. You can think of anyone on Earth less likely to have been a Boy Scout than Baxter, but you reasoned that the scout's honor was a universal sort of concept, like the 5 seconds rule. Then you're in. Baxter clapped his hands together. He fully committed himself to the cause, and he was ready to put a plan in motion. Excellent. Let's get cooking, shall we?
Very well.
You'll have to retrieve the ingredients from your house, since I don't have anything myself. The kitchen is fully outfitted, however, so you don't need to bring any equipment. If you want to take care of things chez toi, you can begin prepping the utensils. I can begin prepping the utensils and such. I'll leave the front door unlocked, so feel free to let yourself in when you're ready. Sure thing. And so you briefly split up. Baxter walked briskly to his rented condo, while you made your way speedily home. The night was still young, sort of, and so you were you. What was a little harmless sleep deprivation between friends? What kind of person got tired at 10 p.m. anyways? Not you, that's for sure. When you came in, you spied your mom sitting around the living room. They were huddled up on one of the couches, luxuriating in one another's company after days of work. Ma's head rests on her wife's shoulders, while Mom brushed her fingers lightly through her hair. They couldn't have been a famous sculpture or a painting sitting there. It was hard when you're seeing your parents like that sometimes. Not because it was embarrassing, although some people might have seen it that way. Your moms were a thing of tremendous gravity in your life. You were a fledgling they had fed and clothed and cleaned up after and loved for years and years, and soon you'd be taking flight. You'd be gone. Maybe that's why you found yourself glancing down at the hardwood floor at the sight of your moms. It was a lot to take in at 10 p.m., to be honest. Is that hardwood? That looks more like if it's hardwood, it's hardwood. But the sound of the front door lured both of them to your presence. The two halves of that piece of art moved in alignment and turned. Welcome back, sweetie. Nice of you to drop by, and then will you be staying with us long? A classic mom joke. You babbled on out the whole Terry's organizing a last-minute party for Randy. Don't tell anyone. Been out all day, and by the way, I need to make cupcakes tonight situation. Not to mention the I'm going over to Baxter's house. Do we have any ingredients I can use situation? There was a whole lot of situation to cover.
That's fantastic.
Oh, that's wonderful, Luna. I'm sure Miranda will be delighted. You're all working so hard. It is getting late, though, and you've been going for most of the day. Maz was eyeing the wall clock and gave you a playful pause. Are you sure you don't want to call it a night and let your mom and me handle the baking? You shook your head, declining the offer. Miranda's your friend, and you've given Terry your word that you take care of it. Besides, it wasn't as if your mom's had it also work today. Ma's tiny frown deepens. So disappointed not to be allowed to baby you, but it was all in good humor.
Fine.
Alright, we won't push it as long as you're sure Baxter's okay with wreaking havoc with his immaculate kitchen. Ma let out an unbridled snort. He's a teenager living on his own, man. How immaculate could that kitchen be? You opened your mouth to defend Baxter and all of the teenagers before you realizing that it could hardly that it hardly counted if the only reason he had a clean kitchen was that he never used it in the first place. If his tone earlier was anything to go by, he'd probably even be thankful for making a mess. It might brighten up the place. He didn't say anything of this to your moms, though. He made it clear to them that Baxter had assured you that it was A-okay. It was his idea to begin with, after all. He had been insistent on helping, like certain other people he could mention. This mollified your parents, though they teased their acting entirely out of consideration of your temporary neighbor. Too bad Baxter Ward had out-considered them already.
I understand.
I understand. You'll handle like the grown-ups you are. At least let us help you gather the ingredients together before you go. Pam, do you think you could get the...
Sure thing.
Already on it. Ma headed toward the kitchen and began pulling things out of the cupboards. Your mom and I actually have some leftover boxes of chocolate cake mix from... Oh, I forgot what it was now. But you're welcome to take it all. That should save you some time. The frosting will have to be made fresh, but I always find that's the easiest part. Oh, and we also have... Mom shot out from behind the fridge door, clutching a large chunk of cream cheese. She planted next to a row of bright red boxes of cake mix and a half dozen eggs on the counter. You should take some extra muffin tins too, just in case. If Bax's oven is big enough, he can make multiple batches at once instead of doing it in stages. You might not need it, but being prepared never hurt anybody. Yeah, Mom paused, a thoughtful look on her face. Unless you were planning to, say, assassinate someone, then your preparations would be designed to. Pamela, the muffin tins. Right, muffin tins. You two can take it along cake liners too. While they were meant to only help, your moms did all the work getting the supplies. As soon as you found yourself ready to head on over to Bax's condo, they kissed you one on either cheek and shooed you out enthusiastically out the door. You hurried across the streets, lugging your cargo in 2 large grocery store branded totes. Once up the front steps to Bax's house, you gingerly rearranged things so you were able to grab the doorknob. As promised, Baxter had left it unlocked, a panel of light spread across your face. Steeling yourself in preparation for the last stretch of an intermediable day, you gripped the bag handles tighter and stepped inside. Stepping briskly through the entryway, you recalled that Baxter's condo had a kitchen directly opposite the main living room. You made your way straight there. Baxter was waiting for you beside Fred, shriveling around when he heard you enter. Ah, you're here. Excellent. Welcome.
So?
This music always makes me so sleepy. Were you able to find everything you needed from your house? Many places might be closed these days, but I'm not opposed to a trip to the grocery store if necessary. You unceremoniously hauled 2 large bags of stuff onto the counter, though being careful not to squash the eggs and wipe your brow in the exaggerated fashion. We're good. I managed to lug everything over here. You made a start on unpacking the bags of ingredients, but before you could get very far, there's a sudden explanation from Baxter in your hands were 2 boxes of cake mixture.
Hallelujah.
Oh, hallelujah. I was hoping you'd bring something similar. Being that genuinely glad, you couldn't help but let your eyes widen in surprise. Did you mean to tell me that Baxter Ward is somehow not a master baker in disguise? I thought you could do everything. I'm so disappointed. Baxter sheepishly raked a hand through his iconically colored hair. Practically speaking, I haven't the faintest idea of what kind of baking I'm capable of, though the probability suggests that it's unlikely to be much. To tell the truth, I have never baked before in my entire life, whether using pre-prepared mix or not. I can only imagine that this would be easier, potentially. That's okay. Actually, it's not that hard, no need to worry. And decorating is... Am I good at decorations? Sure, I'll say I have decorations since too. I got this. Baxter's had gotten newly pleased with your proposal. With no small amount of relief mixed in, he bobbed a comical little bow.
My pleasure.
In that case, I'll place myself entirely at your disposal. It's my honor to be your beautiful Lily.
My pleasure.
I'm honored to be your humble assistant for this evening. Shouldn't that be my beautiful assistants? I suppose you're right, but given that I'm relying on your expertise, it seems impolite to blow my own trumpets. I'll gladly take the compliment, though. Well then, with that, a disclaimer out of the way, let's get to baking, shall we? You finish unpacking the remaining ingredients, lining them all up carefully on the countertop. Baxter took the second bag and did the same. That reminds me, I have been a bit hyperbolic when talking about how barren my fridge is earlier. It's not as though the thing is completely empty. At the time, I wanted to assure you that it wouldn't be any trouble for you to come and make use of it. And there's definitely is plenty.
Of course.
But I'm not completely incapable of providing at least a basic level of hospitality. If you're ever hungry or thirsty, let me know. This news came as a relief to you. Probably not for the reasons that Baxter was expecting. Sure, it was great that you wouldn't starve while you were here. But mostly you were glad to hear that Baxter wasn't living on his own with nothing to eat in the house. That mental image had been so lonely. You thanked Baxter for the offer, although you weren't in the mood for anything at the present. At some point in the conversation, Baxter had been rummaging around in the cupboard and added a third muffin tray to the two of yours. The kitchen happened to be supplied with one of these already, but thank you for bringing the spares in case of emergency. As often happened in your life, you found yourself offering a prayer of thanks to your moms for reminding you of the blindingly obvious. Oh, right, about that. We'll never get it done if we only bake one tray at a time. If you use all the trays, the batch will be done faster. Your oven should be big enough. Baxter's eyes lifted at a fraction of surprise. That's true. There should be enough space. The pans aren't terribly large. I'll double check. He picked up one of the trays, walked over to the oven and opened it up. He put it inside, took it back out, tried putting it again long ways. Then he nodded, apparently satisfied. Yes, that'll do it, especially if you use more than one shelf. 3 dozen cupcakes at once. We could almost start a bakery. He was more than a little tickled by the idea, so he refrained from pointing out that he first have to know a bit more about baking to actually run.
Alright.
Well, now the matter squared away, where shall we begin? Without saying another word, you tore into the cake mix. Let's start with the batter, which is the mix plus water, oil, and eggs. Normally you use milk, but this mix we're using has powdered milk in it to begin with, so water is good. I see. Also, we need to set the oven preheat to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which I think is what, 200 degrees Celsius, I think? I don't know the exact version. Excellent. That's relatively straightforward. The pair of you promptly made a start, measuring out the ingredients into a mixing bowl. Didn't present any real challenges. Baxter insists on cracking the eggs. Even I know how to do that much. With everything together in one bowl, you started to stir together using one spoon. While you're mixing the batter, Baxter diligently placed 36 miniature paper cupcake liners into the tins. Once he was finished, he came and peered over to your shoulder into the bowl. Is it ready? Gave a firm nod. You had the batter on a good, even consistency, moderately thick while still being runny enough to...
What do you think?
How are you meant to get into the trays? Spoon, perhaps? A serving spoon would have been fine, although a rubber spatula would come in handy for getting the last bits of batter out of the bowl. You picked them up and both out of their tinted drawer. Normally I would just pour it, if there's a little notch for it. Portioning out the batter into cupcake tins was where things started to get more involved. You took care of filling the 2 tins you brought from your home, while Baxter made the effort on his own tin by himself. You managed to get the batter sitting evenly in all cases without spilling. Baxter's pan didn't fare so well, however. His Baxter portions were uneven, and some of the mixture had dribbled into the spoon onto the tray, which had to be wiped down. He mumbled a quiet apology, clearly embarrassed, but you squashed it with an encouraging grin. He performed his duty, and you were grateful for the help. Baxter cautiously lifted the trays one at a time into the hot oven, placing 2 on the top shelf and sliding the last one underneath. Then, checking the instructions again, he set time on his phone. There was enough cake batter to fill another 2 trays at a rough estimate, but 3 in the oven was all you had, so you covered the bowl with shrink wrap and put it in the fridge. At this point, it was nearly 11 o'clock, but Baxter had remained perky and chipper as night wore on. didn't come as a surprise by this point, since he knew full well he was a proven night owl. While the cakes were in the oven, he had to take care of the frosting next. He could remember a recipe without any trouble. Well, I was right. It was one of the easier parts of making cake, all told. He recited the necessary ingredients aloud. As he went down the list, Baxter forged around on the countertop and handed the name items to you, which he added to the fresh mixing bowl. He then dove under the counter for a moment and popped back up and sporting a handheld electric whisk. You inserted the 2 metal beaters into the mixture and switched it to low setting, then turned the whisk on. Once the mixture was settled, you gradually whipped up the speed. Once again, Baxter was rather awestruck by the ease of which you handled the process. He had been giving the electric whisk a nervous side-eye ever since it was brought out. If I had been given charge of that device, dusting of sugar would have been the least of our concerns. We might be spending the entire night scraping cream cheese off the walls. He chuckled and continued to smooth out the spread. While he doted on the bowl, Baxter had been peeking around the side of you with interest, leaning in close in order to get a better look. It was a touch closer than might have been expected, considered strictly polite, and there was something about the proximity of his body that made it harder than usual to concentrate on the task at hand. You certainly didn't mind it per se, but still, you were operating dangerous equipment here. You could definitely easily pick out the smell of his aftershave. He swallowed. At some point, he concluded that he was crowding you overmuch, so he took a few small steps to a much safer distance. He sort of lounged against the far counter, trying to make it appear as though he's always intended to do so. Baxter worked quite hard behind the scenes to give the impression that everything he did was totally effortless, but maybe it came being a dancer. You pondered these things during the tedious mixing process. It was so cute. Of course, you already knew Baxter was pretty adorable. It wasn't too long before you had the frosting look halfway decent and turned the whisk off. Baxter took that as his cue to come back over, smiling pleasantly.
Thanks.
Thanks for taking care of them, Luna. You shot him a cheeky thumbs up while taking a lick off the whisk. Baxter's face creased into a look of mud.
You know.
Careful, Luna. We want to make sure we have enough to go on the cupcakes. Besides, he leaned in, wiping up to swipe the pad of a thumb across the corner of your mouth. Before you can even register it, he slipped the frosting-coated thumb into his mouth. You're a bit of a messy eater this late at night. Your mind had gone totally blank, racing to catch up. But after a short pause, Baxter backed off and acted as if nothing had happened. This is where I was going to kill you one of these days. I'd originally planned to put the frosting in the fridge while we waited on the cakes to finish, though that might make it too difficult to spread later on. What do you think? You've been nice to say the same thing, so you merely nodded in approval. It was nice to see that he was beginning to figure things out. At this point, you were inclined to relax a bit, even with the frosting taken care of and the comforting smell of baking in the air. Baxter was in the mood to try and keep himself busy. In fact, your success with the cakes, however related that success might be, that put him in an distress-free line. Watch him as he cheerfully donned a pair of rubber gloves, black, of course, and began to fill the sink with water in order to wash the bowls and other baking equipment. While the faucet was running, he also took out some floss and surface cleaner with the intent of wiping down the countertops wherever there were traces of cake and mixed powder and batter. He left him to it. He seemed to be entertaining himself. He hummed quietly under his breath, a wordlessly formless serenade. The way he was moving along with the lift of the melody made him seem to be drifting in a world of his own. Suddenly, there was a bright tinkling sound. It jolted you out of whatever thought you'd been having. Baxter's hand went to his back pocket. The time of his phone had run out.
Exciting.
The cakes are done. He's generally excited by the prospect, hastily jabbing at a screen to turn off the alarm, then grabbing a nearby pair of oven mitts with the pictures of cats on it. They must have belonged to the owner of the condo, rather than Max himself, since the fabric was a deep red color. The cats were all black and white, though. You suppose that counted? Carefully, cautiously, he used the 3 baking pans out of the oven, placing them one by one onto the granite counter. He recalled which had gone in first, second, and third, and removed them in the proper order. The cakes looked good. They'd risen uniformly, and the color was a nice, rich chocolate brown. They hadn't dried out either. You could see a faint, moist sheen on the surface. You chimed up as you admired your handiwork. Do you have anything to go underneath the pans? To protect the counter, I mean. Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think there's anything here, though. I should be fine, hopefully. Stone's real, not a veneer over a less dirty material. Baxter stared down at the cakes, his face thoughtful. Then he removed the oven gloves, folded them on the countertop, and pitched the branch of his nose eyes closed.
So...
I tried to ask, but how many of these were you supposed to make? I only now realize I never asked Terry how much food she eats. Oh, you hadn't thought of that. Well, I'd been deciding to bring cupcakes. Terry never specified about quantity. She simply wanted another dessert beside her cake. He explained as much to Baxter. He breathed in through his nose and sighed deeply as he opened his eyes. Perhaps that's because Terry doesn't know herself. That's understandable. This whole party was extra and poor to begin with. I do hope 36 is enough, even with the spare batter. We don't have the time to prepare another batch, not if they're to cool and be frosty before the event. I must extend my thanks once again that you brought your family's spare tin cans over. Otherwise, the crowd would be fighting over a paltry 12 cupcakes. Welcome, got lucky. Speaking of your family, you checked on the clock on your phone to see how long ago you bade them farewell. Oh, it's already past midnight. You couldn't believe it got so late, and you couldn't even start the frosting until the cakes have cooled, which might take another hour or more. You put the phone down, glancing in Baxter's direction. You were acutely aware he was doing his favor, more than one for that matter, and you didn't want to impose if that would be an issue. You decided to put in the question to him directly, as much as you were able. What would be worse, staying up even later to finish everything tonight, or getting up bright and early tomorrow morning? Baxter scrunched up his face, his boyish nose wrinkling in distaste. Waking early, no question. Of course you knew he'd say that before you even asked, but you wanted to give him the choice. It's fine, don't worry, I'll stay awake long enough as needed to see the endeavor through. Understand what I was signing up for when I offered help, more or less. Though I honestly don't mind if you head home and get some rest. I can idle around until the cakes have set, and then, well, you know the rest. Until today, I have never baked before, and by extension, I am 99% certain I have never frosted a cake before either, but I can manage. He cleared his throat, crossing his arms with finality. The point is, I don't intend to quit until the end. The bitter but hopeful, not bitter taste in the end. Well, after such a rousing speech, I can't exactly abandon.
I appreciate the understanding.
I appreciate it greatly, both your continued company and your help. We'll get through this with the entire awesome and terrible power of teamwork. Bow down. Of course, all hail. The commitment made, you decide to put the cakes in the freezer for... Why not the fridge? I feel like that'd be more convenient. For a short while to help speed the cooling process along. 3 tins fit snugly inside. Nothing left to do but wait. I wonder how Terry's cake's coming along. Is that a note of concern I hear? I wouldn't fret about it. If so, I imagine she's set for nothing less than total success. I haven't known her for long. However, Terry strikes me as a force of nature that a few things compete when she sets her mind on a course of action. Yeah, that sums up Terry pretty well. You could put her faith in her that way. The fact that Baxter picked up only after a few conversations put your heart at ease. Baxter pressed firmly against the freezer door, making positively sure that it had been shut. He then tapped at his phone, setting another timer before glancing in your direction.
Well,
since we need to wait a while longer, why don't we take this opportunity to rest? You're welcome to use either the couch or the chair in the living room. He ran a finger across the collar before putting a hand on his forehead, pantomiming fatigue. I must say, trying to keep up with you is taking a toll on my stamina. I'm starting to feel the effects. Sure, sounds good right about now. Of course, please go right ahead. Oh, before you go, he held up a hand, gesturing vaguely about. I almost forgot where we were. I'll join you shortly, but I can bring you anything refreshing to drink. I was about to get myself a little something. What are you having? He tapped a finger on his chin and made a non-committal sound. You'll find out soon enough. That was rather unusual, and he privately observed. Baxter would never normally dodge a direct question. He was always straightforward, even unnecessarily so, as Cove might say. Oh well, no use losing sleep over it, when you are losing so much over it already tonight. You made your way into the sitting area, making a beeline for one of the comfier-looking chairs. You sat down in it, feeling the cushion mold itself to your shape. The house was built on an open plan. To the extent that you could see, Baxter was over in the kitchen from where you were waiting. He opened one of the cabinets and took out something that looked suspiciously like one of the plastic champagne flutes that you and Terry had bought earlier today, except this one was real glass. From the fridge, he fetched a large green bottle from the side shelf, which you hadn't spotted before. You needed a screw to cork off the top. Out of it poured a fizzy liquid, pale golden color. What is that, sparkling cider?
No.
The reply came immediately, without so much as a glance in your direction. He had no computation for what he was doing. You smiled to yourself and shook your head. Oh, Baxter. Carefully navigated his way out of the kitchen, claiming a space on the generally sized sofa. Let's keep this between us, alright? His lips curled mischievously. But look at me, chinking on the jaw. What a shameful way to start my new party planning occupation. Pro bono, naturally. Cheers, Luna. He took a long, slow sip of his champagne, closing his eyes and savoring the taste. He smacked his lips and let out a slow out of enjoyment. That hits the spot. Much better than anything they call a baby Bellini. Though he wouldn't have admitted it, the laid-back manner of which he handled such an illicit topic was rather beguiling. Maybe he had a bit of a soft spot for the bad boys. He thought snagged on something Baxter had said moments ago. His joke about drinking well on the clock. In a certain sense, he reasoned, it wasn't so much a joke after all. Baxter had heard you really readily committed to helping you and Terry organize Miranda's party at extremely short notice. He dedicated himself to the endeavor, not just today, but tomorrow as well. Of all the group of people he had only recently come to know. Baxter, be earnest. Are you really enjoying yourself with all the party stuff? Baxter didn't meet your gaze, his eyes wandering around the room as he gently swirled the champagne in his glass. He took another slow sip before answering, intensely dramatic.
My pleasure.
I'm having a good time. I hate for you to fret over something such as that. I could have devised a more pleasant way to spend my time here, even if I tried. And to be frank, I have tried. I didn't come to Sunset Boulevard totally devoid of any plans or ideas. You and your friends have invited me over to participate in an event with great significance to you. It's a profound gesture to show a relative stranger. When it's over, I'm long gone from here. I hope you can all look back on this party to years to come, maybe for the rest of your lives, and treasure the memory. And perhaps I'm part of that memory, then that is satisfaction enough, though perhaps I'm in danger of giving my contribution too much credit. He was smiling, but it was muted, distant thing, like a car headlamp seen a long way off, ready to turn a corner. It felt akin to a farewell, even though he wasn't leaving yet. The glimmer was gone as his eyes met yours, the rim of his champagne.
You know.
Besides, I'm on vacation. I have nothing but day after day of generous free time. It'd be silly to begrudge its being used, especially as it's easier for me. This party is only a party from my perspective, which means I can put my head back and simply bask in the occasion with the highs and lows. For you and your friends, this is important, as weights. I have to say, I'm curious about the situation. You and Terry are both determined to make this a big event, but for all that, it seems rather a one-off affair. Not wishing to sound critical, but if you're a regular habit of throwing each other parties, I would have expected a better preparation for, well, the preparation.
To be honest,
Is there something about this specific birthday that warranted such a special affair? You found yourself taken aback by this. It wasn't like you hadn't thought about it either. You've been doing as much earlier tonight, but what with the rush to get all the ingredients and baking the cakes, you had been distracted since then. All at once, the feelings you'd suppressed bubbled back up to the surface. Slowly, hesitantly, you began to talk. This might be the last birthday we get to celebrate together. I've known Cove basically my whole life. Terry and Randy, not as long. Still, they're important to me. Soon we'll all be grown up and we'll head off to different places in life. There's nothing we can do to change that, but Terry's so determined to go out with a bang, and I couldn't let her shoulder the burden of her on her own. We have to do what we can for each other while we still can anyways. As he listened to your explanation, Baxter regarded you with a solemn expression. There was a pinch in his forehead where his eyebrows had come together. He was all sympathy.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry you're going through a difficult experience. I wish I knew how to alleviate matters. It's so uncertain. Sadly, there are few, if any, guarantees in the world. Or rather, such a case for the vast majority of us. I can't believe there are people who can remain close to each other in spite of distance and years between them. Those who remain in your life always. His countenance had softened. A faint hopefulness lighting his face as the moonlight on water. He spoke with tenderness.
I believe you will find those kinds of people.
I really do. And while nobody can say for sure, I bet you already have. Are you saying you'll be true to me always? Baxter stared at you aghast, his mouth dropping open in shock. He fumbled for a reply, half staring. I'm sorry, that wasn't my intention at all. I'll be the last person to claim I'm shrinking Violet, but I'm not so brazen as to suggest. No, I meant the friends you have here. Terry, Miranda, Cove, especially Cove. I meant those kinds of people, of course.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm not making much sense. There was a long pause. There was the sound of a faint whispering of a car passing by, the gurgle of a fridge from the kitchen. The two of you jumped in surprise as Baxter's phone went off like a shot in the night. The alarm he set for when you put the cakes in the freezer. He shakily turned it back off, getting up from his seat. A few seconds hesitation and then, well, no, those cupcakes had better be ready for us. It had the vaguely dangerous quality of a threat, which was so absurd after the past few minutes that you couldn't help but giggle. By this point, even your fumes are running on fumes. With a hurricane degree of effort, you forced your feeble human form into action. They should award medals for this kind of thing, you thought to yourself. Terry should give you a darn medal. But this wasn't it. The final stretch before the finish line. You left the living room and returned to the kitchen, where Baxter popped open the freezer door. You retrieved the bowl of frosting in a plastic bag for piping, along with the tubes of glitter Terry had given you hours ago. You can shake half and do the frosting and dusting in one go, right? Wish me luck. Gotcha, good luck. Both set about this task with grim determination. You worked quickly, not sharing any conversation otherwise distracting from the job at hand. You frosted and dusted, each of the 36 cupcakes being lined up along the counter as they were completed.
Oh,
Tran. Make that 35. The singleton Baxter dropped splattered helplessly on the kitchen floor. There was a break in the frosting. At that moment, out of respect for the cake loss, then you both shrugged. One extra cupcake wasn't about to make a world of difference, though. Terry might disagree, but Terry didn't know what it hurt her. When the surviving cupcakes have been properly outfitted with more sugar on top of the existing sugar to be precise, you stepped back to admire your creation. There was a marked difference between your half and Baxter's, besides the fact that it was now one cake short. Hers were quaint little jewels with matching tops. His glitter was uneven, and much more frosting had come out in lopsided heaps. It should still taste good. That was just as important. The two of you fished out 4 airtight plastic containers from the lower drawer and stashed the cupcakes inside. Lids were closed, and boxes were in the fridge, and finally the door was shut. It was finished. You had survived. You checked the time. It was almost 2 in the morning. You could have almost cried. Baxter rubbed his tired eyes and massaged his temples. I have a newfound respect for bakers everywhere. I shall look forward to having all my future life events professionally catered, even if it costs a fortune. He stared down at the miserable remains of the casualty cupcake on the tile.
Never.
And never again. You managed a small smile, despite the fact your face was presently made out of solid concrete and suffering. Ignore the mess. I can take care of it. I'll see you back at to your house. I fear your parents might be worried that you've been out so late. We assured him that it was fine. Your moms knew you were just across the street, and you said it might take a while. You weren't concerned. Baxter was relieved to hear it. The journey home was a blur, a disconnected sequence of images. As promised, Baxter walked with you down the steps of his condo and across the road. Remember that's the scraping of your feet on the sidewalk, the gentle touch of Baxter's hand to the small of your back, guiding you to the house. We ambled through the childhood home in the dark by feel and instinct alone. You counted the stairs in silence, tiptoed to your room, and approached the bed, and then you jerk awake with a start. There was a loud knocking door coming from your bedroom door. And with that, I shall save this here. And I hope you guys have a good day, night, week, month of your lives, and may the stars forever guide your path wherever it might lead you into the future. And I hope to see you guys again soon.